So a big hello, my name is Steve and you are listening to the Go Footballing podcast. So this is the show that talks all about grassroots football, whether you are a football coach, a football player, a parent, referee, or you've just got a love for the game, just sit tight, you are in the right place. So let me just introduce myself. So my name is Steve. I am a UEFA licensed coach. I coach in the grassroots game and also in academies. I'm also a referee and a parent. So let's talk everything grassroots. So as this is our very first podcast, just sit tight. Let me navigate through and tell you what's on the show today and what you should be expecting from the future episodes. So as this is our very first podcast, it would be nice to do a section on trivia all around football firsts. For example, do you know who scored the very first Premier League goal? I know. Or which team won the FA Cup in 1872? Now listen, if you don't know the answers, don't worry. There's going to be lots more trivia as the show goes on, but at the end, we've got about 7 or 8 questions. They're all around football first, so keep tuned for those. So also on the show today, we're also going to be looking at grassroots, what's hot and what's not at the moment. And there's also another little section that we're going to be putting in called On the Pitch. So this section, if you're a player, you're a referee, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about with this. These are the banter. This is the conversations that are happening on the pitch, often pretty quiet, sometimes under your breath, that the parents can't hear, the on-watchers can't hear, the audience can't hear, but it's funny when it's happening on the pitch. So I've got a couple of little stories and I want to share some of those with you. It's quite funny, so stay tuned for that. So that's the lineup for today, so let's get into it. So let's talk about what is hot and what is not in grassroots today. So I can tell you what isn't hot at the moment. And if you're in the UK, you'll know what I'm going to say next. The weather. It ain't been good, has it? It's been raining, it's been snowing, it's been cold. We've had frozen pitches, games called off everywhere. When's it going to end? I don't know. But if you did manage to play at the weekend, well done. Hope you had good games. And I hope that we can all get in some games of this weekend too. Don't know if you've seen it, but one of the clubs that's just near me, I tell you what they are doing as well. They've got their chairman on a canoe on the pitch. Kind of shows you how the flooding's really been affecting the grassroots game recently. Is there any answers for it? I'm not too sure there is at the moment. There's a lot of 3G, a lot of 4G pictures going up all over the place, but you know, the amount of games that we can get on them, can we get enough games on them to accommodate all of the new teams and all the grassroots teams that are around? I mean, ideally, everyone wants to play on grass. I find it so much nicer to play on grass. I suppose everyone does, really. Everyone loves a good slide tackle, don't they? So this one has been a massive hot topic for grassroots football. And, you know, if you're a coach that's coaching some of the younger age groups, you're going to know exactly what I'm coming up with here as well. And that is the heading of the ball and also the dribble and kick-ins. Now, for me, I actually think it's not a bad idea. Really, you know, a lot of aspects to be able to do that. Where I do think it's bad is generally where you've got a coach who's saying to the young players is just give it a kick, and they're using them like free kicks as opposed to what they should be using them for as well, which is more of a dribble in passing. And obviously, look, you know, we're all coaches. We all have tactics. We all have things that we have to do. You know, if we have a free kick in one of those positions in the last minute and we want to score, you know, they're going to want to put the ball up there as well. You're going to give your players all those advantages that you can give them in scoring a goal. But let's just think about why it was introduced. So why was it actually introduced that we were going to start having those dribbling kick-ins as opposed to having throw-ins? Well, obviously it kind of associated itself a little bit with the headers. We all kind of understand that too. But why were we really introducing the dribbling kick-ins? Well, really it was to get the ball at the feet of the players more often and much quicker. So, and to make the game much faster so that we were putting the ball down and we were able to play and we were able to either dribble it in or kick it in. And what we're looking to get out of this, I think, as coaches, and I think that the overall whelming idea of it was, look, more time on the ball, more kicking the ball, more dribbling, more controlling, more movement. They were all key things. And overall, from the games that I've seen, whether or not I've been coaching or whether or not I've been refereeing, I think that's kind of happened a lot. I say, the problem that I have found is that you get just a couple of managers who are deciding to use them just like it's a free kick. And that's kind of taken away from what we're looking at getting here as well. We're wanting more touches, more first touches. We're looking at, better passes, better movement. We're looking at all those things. Whereas when, one coach has got a player who's got a really, really good kick on them, who can kick it from the halfway line, put it straight in the box. They're using them as free kicks. I understand that they're tactics. Look, everyone's going to understand that they are tactics. But I think overall, the amount of extra touches that players are getting, especially at those younger ages where there's less players on the pitch, I think it's actually not been a bad thing. I think that a lot of players are actually benefiting from that at the moment. Obviously, I know that there's another side to this as well, which is why we're not taking throw-ins. It's not real football. But I think sometimes we just need to sit back and realise that 7-a-side football, it's not really the same as 11-a-side football. And, as a coach, when you're having those 5-a-side games and those 5-a-side teams, then you move to 7-a-side, 9-a-side, and then into 11-a-side. They're all completely different games. Possession is different about them. I mean, the goals are obviously different sizes. We have different score lines. I mean, how many times do we go to a game, especially when it's 5-a-side or the 7-a-side games, and it's a 1-0 win? Like, when does that really happen? I mean, it doesn't happen too often. I think some of the games that I score sometimes are like, I don't know, when I'm refereeing some of the younger games at 7-a-side, it could easily be 6-6 easily. I mean, even if we look at sort of like the Power League games as well, what a lot of the adults that are listening will probably be playing. You go there for an hour to goals. You're playing on one of those pitches with the smaller goals, only about grasshoppers high bars on them. If you were to come away from that after an hour and be like, oh, that was a good game, we won 1-0, then you'd probably think there was something wrong. I think I've been to some of those Power League games before, and played in them, and it's been, I don't know, we've lost count, it's been like 20 something each team as well within the hour, because you can score from pretty much anywhere as well. And I think that's the same that we get with the kids games too. So I don't think it's made any difference. And also, the games that we're designing for the grassroots games at 5-a-side, 7-a-side, 9-a-side, before it gets to that 11-a-side, are all about player development. I think it's been pretty good. I mean, let's talk about the headers as well. Taking the headers away from the game. Again, I don't see it as too much of a bad thing. If you're a coach and you're coaching headers for any age group, really, before this came in, or you're ever doing it for any age group, what you will notice is that you only ever really coach it for maybe, 5 minutes out of your hour, 10 minutes out of your hour tops. Then you move on to something else. You want the ball at your feet. You want to be playing. You want to be looking at systems and tactics and practices and all of those other things that you'll want to be looking at. Again, so I don't think it's too much of a bad thing in not having the headers. And I can honestly say that out of all the games that I've refereed, all the games that I've seen, I think I've seen one indirect free kick get given away. Because most of the players that are playing at those age groups, if the ball comes near the head, generally a lot of them will move it out of the way. And if they're not moving it out of the way and it hits them on the head, it's probably an accidental, so we don't give it anyway. So I don't think it's making too much of a difference in the actual game. To be honest, I don't think I've ever seen a 6, 7, 8-year-old score with their head in a game. It's just something that I just don't really see very often. Like I say, during the season so far, I think that by refereeing, I've only given one indirect free kick away. And he looked at it the whole way, so he knew that it was going to come, and as soon as he headed it, he knew what it was, he knew what the rules were, he knew that it had happened. Bear in mind, these are young children as well. Just put the ball on the floor and they just got on with it. I think that the thing that you will find with a lot of grassroots players, especially a lot of the younger players, is that they know no different. So if you just tell them the rules, they'll just get on with the rules. It'll be really interesting though if you could just let me know, either via email or by just messaging into the show, what your experiences are of the no heading and dribbling kick-ins. Find out what it is that you think it's been, whether you think it's been a positive or you think it's been a negative or you think it's made no difference to the game. For me, I don't really think it's made much difference to the game. One thing that I will say though is that when the ball did go out and when it was out for a throw, or as it is now, a dribble or kick-in, is that the amount of foul throws that there were at that age group, you were bringing the ball back to offer a little bit of support out anyway. Because you've got to say that especially a lot of the younger age groups, they're just excited to be there. They're excited to be playing football. They want to get the ball back into play as quick as they can. What do they know best? Well, it's called football. So kicking the ball in and dribbling it in kind of goes hand in hand with that. So, I think it's been great. I don't think there's been any real negatives for it, especially as the game develops and they've had all these extra touches of the ball. I think it's actually a positive thing for bringing on skills, like say first touches, being able to move better. I think those things have all helped, because when we've got a throw in, do people move and do players move the same as they do if there's a dribble or kick in? If they know the ball's coming to their feet, do they move the same? Arguably, I would say sometimes. So, but it'd be really interesting if you can just let us know what experiences you've had, with these rule changes. And bear in mind, we've only had half a season with it now. So, it'd be really interesting to just find out what you think about this dribble-ins, kick-ins, and how that's been affecting your game. Or, if you've been to a game and you've watched it, maybe you're a parent that's been watching the game. Do you think the game's faster? Do you think the game's better? Do you think the players are getting more touches of it? Do you think they're getting better with their first touch? Do you think that their movement is better? Let us know. So then let's move on to our next segment of the show. So this is the bit of the show that I've actually been looking forward to talking about, actually. This is the bit of the pitch, and it's called On the Pitch. Okay, so like I said before in the intro, if you're a football player, if you're a referee, if you're on the sidelines, very, very close, you might hear some of these. But these are the conversations. This is the banter. This is the things that are happening on the pitch or around the pitch, which you don't always get to hear as well. And, honestly, I'd be really looking forward to if you've got any of these little stories too. Whether or not it's you've been on the pitch or you've heard something, or it's a little story that you've got, let me know about it as well, because I think that they're always really interesting to find out. So let's get started on this little story from the weekend. So this one, though, it is going to be nice and quick, but I'm hoping that you've got better ones than me as well. But this one just happened at the weekend, just gone by. So I was lucky enough that even with all the floods and with all the games that were called off, I was still able to go out and referee a couple of games as well. So this was what was happening. So refereeing an under 12s game at the weekend as well. So yeah, 9-a-side, under 12s, all boys. Both teams pretty good level. I say pretty good level as well. So it definitely wasn't just a game of table tennis as well, with it going from one end to another. But yeah, really, really equal game. And obviously, this is a local game, so a lot of the players, they kind of knew each other too. So they must have gone same schools together, probably played in previous teams together. All the rest of it as well. A lot of them kind of knew each other on both sides. Of both teams. So as they do, under 12s, they're trying to copy their sporting icons as well. They're trying to copy everyone else that's out there, all of the professionals. So they've got their nice hairdos, they've got their flashy boots on and all that. But obviously, what's coming as well. They all start talking rubbish to each other on the pitch. You're rubbish, you're doing this, you're doing that. I mean, there was some other language that I had to sort of cut out and not going to announce now. But generally, it was light-hearted and quite funny. Every time someone did a missed kick, it was just whoo from the other team. Every shot that went past, again, exactly the same. If something's going wide past the post, keeper still dives and pretends to dive about an hour later. So just kind of a funny game, really. But there was one moment in the game which I did just think, oh gosh, that is, I wasn't expecting to hear that. So we've got this one lad as well, he's playing as a striker. And, he's been taking shots and shots and shots. And they've been pretty good shots. I mean, they've been on target, pretty close. But he's not scored yet or anything like that. Well, ball goes perfectly through to him. He runs onto it. He's one-on-one with the goalkeeper. I'm just thinking, this has got to be a goal. No worries. I've got the whistle ready. The whistle's ready to go as well, because I'm expecting him to score here. He's one-on-one with the keeper. Keeper's far out. This lad's been really good with his feet, going round players. Good shots and all and everything like that. However, what's he do? Goes round the keeper, open goal, smashes it over the bar. It goes way over the bar. Then guess what I hear as well? Now this one's actually from the sidelines, so it's not fully on the pitch. All I hear is, if you'd have got your hair cut, you'd have been able to see goal and you'd have scored. Yeah, and then for the rest of the game, guess what everyone's calling him? Haircut. Every time he's got the ball, they're shouting at him, he's not got his hair cut, he's got his hair cut, get your hair cut, get your hair cut. So much so that 2 or 3 shots later, he just asked the coach to sub him off, and he just get him off in a Mardy. Now let's just hope that he got his fringe cut and he can see again, and we can see him in some of future games. Now that one's a little bit light-hearted. I'm sure there's some funnier ones out there, and I'm sure there's some banter that you've had on the pitch. So don't forget, you can always email into us. You can do that at gofootballpod@gmail.com. Likewise, if you want to talk about the headers, your experience of the dribble and kick-ins, and also the no headers from this season, again, just email in. That is gofootballpod@gmail.com. All of the best ones, obviously, I'm going to read those ones out, and there'll be a segment in the next show where I'm just going to talk about your experiences just on those dribbling kick-ins like we were talking earlier on in the show. So like I said, as this is our first podcast, and we've got a bit of a theme going here as well with some trivia on some football firsts, let's get into it. So, some football first. Now, I've asked you a couple of questions already, so let's just go through the answers. And the first question that I think I asked you, which was, let me just check again. Oh yeah, that was, who scored the first ever goal in the Premier League? Do you have an answer for it? That was Brian Dean, Sheffield United, 1992. Give yourself a ding if you got it. Okay, so the other question I asked was, which team won the first FA Cup in 1872? Now, I'm guaranteeing that not many people are going to get this one right. Have a guess quick. Have a guess. Wanderers FC. I know. In fact, we're going to do no more sound effects on that one. So some more football first for you. So, who was the first player to win the Ballon d'Or? If you'd have said Stanley Matthews in 1956, you'd have been correct. So we did the first Premier League goal scorer. But who was the first goalkeeper to score in the Premier League? If you'd have said Peter Schmeichel, you'd have been correct. So let's do the next one. So, which team was the first to win an English title in 1889? Got an answer for it? If you'd said Preston North End, you'd be a winner. So, on to the FA Women's Super League. Which team was the first team to win that league? Some of you probably said Chelsea. If you said Chelsea, you'd be wrong. It's Arsenal. And last but not least, but let's go for this one. Some of you will know this one, I'm sure of it. Who was the first British footballer to transfer for £1 million? Got an answer? Time to still think of it. If you'd said Trevor Francis for Nottingham Forest, you'd be right. So well done if you got some of those right. Well done. Unfortunately, no prizes this week to give out. However, it'd be nice if you could give us some feedback. So again, one more little plug on the email as well, which is gofootballpod@gmail.com. Just let us know your stories. Let us know what's happening in the Grassroots game near you. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Episode 2 is going to be out next week. So look forward to hearing from you all in the meantime.